Taehyung is everywhere again, and Jungkook follows him without saying a single word. There was no announcement. No press release, no paparazzi flash, no cryptic countdown or orchestrated unveiling. But sometime between 3:12 a.m. and the first breath of August, the world began to whisper the same question, almost in prayer. Is he back? And if he is, why isn't he speaking? Kim Taehyung, known globally as V of BTS, re-entered the cultural bloodstream not with a bang, but with a shadow. Not with spectacle, but with stillness. Across continents, his presence is felt not as noise, but as vibration, a silent frequency that cuts through the digital din and emotional debris of our times. He appears, not as a person, but as an impression, in an unclaimed Polaroid on a bookstore bench in Prague, in a seat no one dares to occupy at a cafe in Venice, in a melody Jungkook played without a title, live, uncaptioned, at exactly 3:12 a.m. Why that time? Why that silence? Why the presence without proclamation? And more urgently, why is Jungkook, his closest companion in the ethereal and often unbearable fame of BTS, trailing that silence like a shadow, without speaking, without resisting, without asking for applause? The answer lies not in a press conference or a music video, but in the places between. In the crack between art and longing, between fame and anonymity, between being seen and choosing to disappear. Taehyung has stopped returning. Instead, he is being. He isn't staging a comeback. He is curating a disappearance so precise, so reverent, it has become sacred. And Jungkook? He follows, not to illuminate, but to preserve. In Venice, it began with a postcard, an O address. No name, no stamp, just a watercolor of a man seated beneath a willow tree, facing away. Locals say the man never ordered coffee, only asked for the softest chair by the window. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The light fell on his cheek like a lullaby, and his smile melted sugar faster than the waitstaff could replenish it. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, in the hush of a Seoul apartment, Jungkook went live, NO text. No greetings, no schedule, just his fingers, hesitant, almost prayerful, pressing keys on a piano with the tenderness of someone asking for forgiveness. The melody was unnamed. The silence afterward, louder than any encore. When asked in the comments what the song was called, he answered, simply, "There's no title, only him." And then, nothing, an follow-up post. No further explanation. Weeks passed, but the silence grew. Not absence, presence. It began surfacing globally, like breath held just beneath the surface of water, waiting. A child in Morocco dreamed of a man made of wind. He drew a figure with a candle on his chest and a bird on his shoulder. When asked where he'd seen him, the boy replied, "I haven't, but my silence has." In Manila, a fan cafe began lighting a single candle at every sunset. They do not call it tribute, they call it ritual. And when the flame flickers at exactly 6:12, everyone understands he has passed through. The numbers 6 verse 12 reappear again and again. A timestamp on Jungkook's wrist photo. A metro ticket in Paris. A heartbeat buried in the D minor undercurrent of a practice session, caught only by audio engineers who dared to slow it down. Was it an accident? Or was it permission? Executives, producers, and paparazzi combed through Kyoto, Paris, Berlin, chasing coordinates that no longer meant anything. What they found was stranger than fiction. Polaroids left in Iceland, whispers humming in Berlin cafes, receipts for lavender and ink in Kyoto, and all the while, Jungkook did not explain. He did not need. He posted a photo, not of his face, but of shadow on a library floor. No caption, only a waxing crescent emoji. The books in frame were all upside down, except one, Rilke. The page was marked, "Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart." This is not mourning. This is maintenance, not erasure. Evolution that a jazz bar in New Orleans now closes once a week, not for maintenance but memory. One unnamed track plays, trumpet, whisper, heartbeat. Locals call it the purple interval. No talking allowed. Even bartenders cry without knowing why. This is not performance. It is preservation. A bookstore in Prague laminated a handwritten note in the poetry section. Don't look for me in fame. Find me in a forgotten garden. I will be the vine moving in silence. Vide, a ceramic shop in Porto, exhibits a plate with one inscription. He never left. He just became softer. No one buys it. They just leave notes beside it, folded like prayers. Taehyung Sapporo. A dancer slipped and began to weep. She said the floor was wet, but there was no water, only ambient sound, a breath repeated every 6.12 seconds. She doesn't know the name of the song, but she remembers the ending, a single string pluck, and a whisper that felt like home. I N Florence. A child awoke from sleep, hands scented with rain, pillows soaked. She had dreamt of a violin made of tree branches, silent strings. She called it music that doesn't wait for applause. Meanwhile, Jungkook's silence deepened. He blinked off social media for 9 days, then returned with one post. No words, no face, just a timestamp, and the shadow of books, all closed but one, open on a quote about uncertainty. He has stopped trying to explain. He doesn't need to. Every live broadcast now feels more like a seance than a performance. Ambient interference, breath, rustle, static, no longer accidental. He is carrying presence, not publicity. And wherever he goes, the number 612 follows.
A time.
A heartbeat. A permission. This is not mystique. This is sacred design. A mural in Jakarta shows a boy beneath a static sky, his chest open, not bleeding, but blooming. One word in gold. Breathe. The locals bring incense. Paper money, not offerings. Understandings that I in Quebec. A church rings its bell once a day. Only once. At 6:12. Not for prayer. Not for sermon. But because a child left a drawing on the altar, a man with wings made of sheet music. Captioned, he sings when we forget how. All of this, all at once. And Taehyung has not said a single word, but silence can be louder than sound. Absence, when chosen, becomes the purest form of presence. Taehyung did not disappear. He simply stepped back far enough to become atmosphere, to stop being image and start being feeling. And Jungkook? He does not explain. He does not correct the world's guesses. He walks barefoot, metaphorically and perhaps literally, beside the absence that shaped him. He posts less. He feels more. He is not echoing Taehyung's footsteps. He is preserving them. Some stories are not told. They are remembered in gestures. In Stockholm, a folded note on a subway seat reads, I traced his name into the fog, and the glass remembered how it used to feel. No signature, but on the back, Violet. 7 and Reykjavik, a poet writes, if love had a library, he'd be the dog-eared page. This isn't a comeback. This is a cathedral made from breath. S.O. if today, you feel yourself holding your breath for no reason, or you hear a song that shouldn't exist but hurts like an old photograph, or the wind halts for just a second in mid-step. It might be him, not asking for attention, but reminding you how to arrive. Gently, like art that needs no frame, like a gift that asks for no applause, like Taehyung and Jungkook. He does not speak, but every silence he leaves is a doorway, and if you are still enough, you'll realize he has never left. He is just everywhere. Taehyung is appearing everywhere again, and Jungkook follows without saying a word. He didn't knock. He didn't announce. He simply began to appear. Taehyung, once elusive and silent, has been surfacing in places that defy pattern. A jazz bar in New Orleans, a bookstore in Prague, a quiet cafe in Venice.